I've just got off a big SuDS tour around the world and seen some really good examples, some of which I'll share with you this afternoon. Water's arrived. Fantastic. That's what we're talking about, isn't it? So I'm glad that's on cue. It's all about water. So thank you for inviting me, Paul, and giving me this opportunity to share some of my thoughts about what I think SuDS is and what SuDS can do for us. I think this is a tremendously exciting place that we're at if we're working in this field. We've got to the stage where water has become so high on the agenda that it gives us the opportunity to use water to help making places, and that's what I do. I'm a landscape architect. I used to be a geographer. I now count myself very lucky that I can work with this material, with engineers, with ecologists, with planners, with other specialists and generalists in bringing forward places which are water rich. I'm just going to talk to you about that and show you lots of slides. There's no numbers, by the way, so anyone's interested in numbers, you've had that. This is just pictures. Okay, so people will be familiar, I'm sure, with the difference between conventional drainage and SuDS. Hopefully I don't have to elaborate on that, but it's about balance, and you know, Stephen Bridget and Alistair have talked about this opportunity we have of creating balance in design. We tend, however, still, and there is an amazing pressure to do that and to concentrate on water quantity with a bit of water quality and ignore this. You know, we have maybe a little bit of biodiversity consideration if we're after some BREEAM points or Code for Sustainable Home points, and amenity, well, that can go to hell. This, ladies and gentlemen, we must change. No doubt, this is a scheme which does whatever the designers designed it to do, but I think you'll agree, this is not my photo, this is from a friend of mine, Anthony McCloy in Ireland. This is a difficult place for people to enjoy. We reckon there's about £25,000 worth of fencing around this detention pond. And I could do quite a lot for £25,000, I'm sure you could as well. We're not immune from this in the UK. This is a scheme in Melton Mowbray. We've got some gentlemen here from Leicestershire, so you'll doubtless be familiar with this sort of thing, as I'm sure you know other people will. The fence is no doubt needed, but why? How do children growing up on this housing area enjoy this as a space? This is a waste. This isn't solving any problems for us, I would contend. We're sending the wrong message. Beware shallow water. What's that all about? If we're looking to create a sustainable future, we've got to be a bit more imaginative than this. Now, this is a school in Leicestershire. I will name names later to you gentlemen. And there's a nursery on the site, and no doubt it is the concern of the staff operating the school that small children could be in danger. And I'm sure we'd all agree that we shouldn't be putting small children in danger, should we? But small children can't read. So what's this about? What message is it sending to people about these places which are water rich? Now, water sensitive urban design is where I believe we're going. This is beyond SuDS. This is an Australian notion, and there's lots of resources on the web that you can look at. It's about, as we've mentioned earlier, trying to achieve more of a natural balance in our urban areas. It's a great name for this because it's about design. I'm a designer. I love design. I love designing with water. But water-sensitive urban design isn't exclusive to one particular profession. It's general. It involves everyone, including the people that live in the area. This, I think, is very important. And the Australians do it really well. So this is an example in southern part of Newcastle, in New South Wales, and even small children get to understand what is going on in water-centred urban design. This is actually a creek rehabilitation scheme which was partially built by local residents with support from the City Council. And then they make great efforts to explain to people where their tax dollars are going, what's actually happening in this place, how it's changing and why it's important. So good lessons for us. This is last week, pictures taken on Wednesday or Thursday, I can't remember. This is in Portland in Oregon, where I was taken around a whole range of different initiatives to create green infrastructure as part of their stormwater management program. Some brilliant work being done. Not all of it's perfect, and not all of it is applicable directly to what we're doing in the UK. So it really is horses for courses. This is about design, not pattern stamping solutions out, I think. Now, we're good at this in the UK as well. Steve, I think you may have been involved in this. Yeah, this is Bob Brace, Steve. This is Roger Knoll from Sheffield City Council. If you get the chance, if you're in Sheffield, go and see it. It's a very dense urban area, and what they've done is taken some of the stormwater from a housing development, very standard housing development, pushed it through an open space, through a park, Manor Park, and then used that as an opportunity to regenerate the park. I won't go into the details, but there's information. I think this is a susdrain case study, as most of these are actually. So there are opportunities to do this. This is what we've been doing. This is a DSA scheme in Blackpool, where we took the opportunity to use water in the landscape. In order to get planning permission for the development, we had to demonstrate an ecological approach because we were taking part of a park away, contrary to policy. So inevitably there's a big building and there's a big car park. But engaging the local people became an important part of the approach. It's also cheap labour if you get kids to do it. But no question, when we engage the children from 2 local primary schools, they understand why this strange landscape has evolved. It's much more difficult to explain, interestingly, to the older people who occupy the building, because they're used to water going away when it rains. What happens at Moore Park, as in many SuD schemes, is that it doesn't do that. It stays on the surface, gradually infiltrates, and it enables us to make this place much more interesting and especially much more biodiverse. We can even drive the swales right the way through the car parks, so we can get water effectively and wetlands right up close to the buildings. It's not perfect. There are problems with it. And we've got a particular kind of soil type at Blackpool. If you know Blackpool, there's a lot of sand. And we're building on some of it. So, you know, that sort of approach works there. It may not work well in other areas, but it's certainly possible. We had a lot of skepticism when we first promoted this design approach with the client, most of which has evaporated now that it's working. People tend to like it. And the maintenance is virtually zero. That was supposed to be one of the things that was going to cause us a problem. Now, I'm sure you're aware, because you all pay money to the NHS, that this is the decade of well-being. And there are 5 principles to well-being according to the NHS. The third one is taking notice. So SuDS and water design actually, in my view, gives us the opportunity to help people live better lives, be more engaged with where they are, and take notice. And we use this when we're designing, for instance, medical centres. This is an example of rain gardens which have been put in at a new medical centre in Ulster. It was opened in June. This is in Warwickshire, just south of Birmingham. It's accessible, so go and see it. But we made a big play of explaining to the client, to the end users, and to the planning authority what it was we were trying to do. It looks I think you'll agree, pretty good. We didn't have to do this. We could have put it in tanks under the car park or some alternative. But we were lucky in that the client got the idea, was convinced, and we were able, therefore, to develop the site out in the way that you see there. That big black sign is some of the interpretation. We also got a lot of BREEAM credits for it, and there's various other examples of benefits. Now, lastly, a Leicestershire example. This was seized upon by the European Union Adaptation for Climate Change study, so it's an EU case study, and I was invited to talk about this in Hamburg in March. It's very nice, actually, to go to Germany and tell the Germans how to do it. It's really good, and they like this study. So this is an example of an ordinary, dead ordinary school. It's a sixth form school, post-16 centre. We work with Ovarup and partners in developing a strategy for water for the site and explaining that to the local authority, Leicestershire County Council, and to the staff and students in order to get their buy-in. So we managed to do that. That's what it looks like on the ground, or at least that's some of it. And this is a fascinating case study, really, and an example of what you can achieve with a little bit of imagination and the wiggle room given to you by the authority. The Environment Agency are very supportive of us in this. The ultimate test of whether this works as a design, to me, is illustrated here. That guy there isn't a teacher, he's not a professional, he's not an engineer, he's the premises officer that works in the school. And if you ring him up, he will talk you round the SuDS scheme. And he'll tell you anything you want to know about how it works, why it was developed, how much it cost, and how much it costs to manage. And we use the word management, not maintenance, interestingly, being landscape architects. There was a saving of around about £100,000 on the build by using a SuDS strategy, and the land, which Steve's mentioned, is available to you on these sorts of sites, instead of using conventional drainage or putting this in a tank, putting the water in a tank. Moreover, the students from the school use this landscape as part of their curriculum studies, and they make the management decisions within the framework of a landscape management plan, which we wrote, which will guide the management of the landscape. How cool is that? So it's the students and the staff at the school understanding what's going on that actually start to influence what's happening in their landscape. Costs are known. It's their decision. This has been converted to an academy now, so they've got complete control over their budgets. And it's a very exciting, to me, very exciting way to go. So, the future is bright. We're aware, we're taking notice. Thank you very much.